Thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif, an urban planner, and you're more than welcome to join my big journey of exploring the making of smarter and more livable cities. Please don't forget to follow Urbanistica on the different social media platforms, and also let's connect on LinkedIn. Big thanks to Urbanistica podcast partner AFRI. AFRI is an international engineering and design company providing sustainable solutions in the fields of energy, industry, and infrastructure. Are you ready for a new episode? Let's go for it. I have the pleasure to welcome you, Daniel, to Urbanistica podcast. Hey, and welcome.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here with you.
My pleasure. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. It's a very insightful day for me, and not the first time at the Urban Future Conference, but always an amazing moment.
Yeah, and I see very busy schedule as well, right?
Yeah, but that's that's not that important.
Yes. So tell me, give me the listeners a highlight about you.
Okay, highlight French, dreamed since I was a child to work for the automotive industry, now doing my dream come true. And now, let's say, following further beliefs that I have. And one of them is that I believe in shared values. That means I believe that sustainable business is the key. That means that business has to have an impact on profit, on people, and on planet.
Yeah. And what is your position? What do you work with now?
So I'm in charge of a team called the Urban Mobility Solutions team. It's a very talented team, waiting for only one thing, is that I leave them in peace, that I give them the resources to work. But sometimes they ask me also what is my opinion on different things. But this is a great way to work.
Yeah. And where are you based, the team?
I'm based with the team in Stuttgart, but we have also a team in the US, and we are expanding.
That's amazing. So if you summarize, what are you passionate about?
Okay, I'm passionate about leadership on one thing, and learning a lot on leadership, learning a lot on inspiring people. This is my, if you want, private personal hobby. And on a professional side, I'm passionate about mobility, and really on something that I call context-based mobility. I truly believe that in each context, there is a best solution.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the car, sometimes it's the bike, sometimes it's the bus, sometimes it's whatever. The most important is that we give the choice to the people to choose.
Yeah. And talking about leadership, I know this topic is you're very passionate about it. So from what is the leadership that big corporates need in order to create a sustainable future?
Yeah, I think it's a co-creative leadership. That means that it's a leadership where you accept to listen a lot to very different people. You need a diversity of audience. That means that you need people that give you different angle for a specific topic. And based on that, I think that then you can make a bet. Then you can decide, for example, like we do, to work with cities. We can decide to make cities safer, for example, by using car data. We can decide to improve traffic efficiency by simulating, for example, mobility in some areas. Or we can also provide, let's say, different solutions for people, like, for example, an electric car, a charging voucher, and on top of that, for example, an e-bike as an ABO model or something like this. And I think that these are the very concrete things that really move the whole topic forward.
Do you see we have leaders that having this kind of leadership now?
Oh yes, absolutely. I think we have this kind of leaders. We have even more of these leaders. I think that it's not a generation topic. That means that you have leaders which are maybe a bit older and so on. Others are very young, but they all have the same, if you want, passion inside, the same intrinsic motivation. And this intrinsic motivation is, for me, to be summarized by P2R, PowerPoint to reality. That means that they want to do something. They want to change something. And I think that this is the biggest chance that we have, is just to connect with these people who are people doing something.
Yeah, it's interesting you're highlighting a point about the generations, because usually what we hear in the media that the young generation cares a lot about sustainability, which means like the old generation is not really caring. So what is your reflection?
I don't think it's like this. I think that you have people who are, let's say, young at heart. And I think that the topic of sustainability is not a generation topic. I think that we just need to understand that to solve topics like safety, like sustainability, like access to opportunities or traffic efficiency, if I take the mobility sector, I think that the most important is that we believe in sector coupling, that we believe also in putting different players on the table, because at the end of the day, it's a transformation, and a transformation works only with partners.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I work with urban planning, and now like many of the cities are heading toward like car-free city centers, and you work a lot with cars. What is your reaction when you hear urban planners tell we plan cities for people, not for cars?
I think that it's a very clear trend that we see, but at the end of the day, when you talk to cities also, none of the cities we are working with are saying that there will be absolutely no car. I think that what will be is that there will be a much more efficiency in the traffic. There will maybe a different mix of multimodality. But what we never hear really a zero car topic. What we just much more see is that there is a need to, let's say, put this mode of transportation, and it's also not only people transportation, but it's also good transportation, to connect them much better, okay? And to also understand how we can use the space better, and how we can also give the opportunity to people to take the right decision and the right mode of transportation in certain contexts.
Do you feel sad that like the number of cars that you sell increasing because like cities heading more toward pedestrian and bike?
I don't think that the number of cars is that much decreasing. I think that there is only a different use of vehicles and of mode of transportation. That means that this is absolutely fine. What I really like to see is that the number of electric vehicles is increasing. If we take, for example, the share of electric vehicles, it's increasing. And I think that this is something which is very good. Ourselves at Mercedes, we are committed to have 100% electric by the end of the decade, where the market allows it. That means that it's a very strong commitment. And you can imagine that we are very happy to see that there is this development.
Yeah. But do you think that there is enough infrastructure in order for people to have electrical cars?
I think that the infrastructure need to accelerate. This is absolutely, like you said, this is a true topic. This is ground truth. We need to have much more charging infrastructure. We need also to make this charging infrastructure also much more available for people. Absolutely. There are so many players currently in the market, and I think that it's a crucial point. Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you like, as a Mercedes, do you talk with cities and tell them, okay, look, we have this need. We need to do this. As a city, you need to provide this infrastructure. Like, do you have a close dialogue with the cities?
We have a very close dialogue with cities, which is on different aspects, and also sometimes in charging. I give you one example. We can, for example, with data from the vehicles, we could, for example, much more, let's say, consult the city where to put the charging points, because it's not because you have the impression that you need in front of this building or that building, but if you have real behavior data or very real car data where you know how long, for example, vehicles are parked, and how is the battery status of this vehicle, then you can of course provide a very clear, let's say, suggestion where it would make much more sense to put chargers, for example. And I think that this is the appeal to all the cities, is that really that we discuss very openly on what is possible to do, what can technology bring to the table.
But do you see like cities are open to this kind of transformation, working with data and...
Absolutely. We work together very closely with London. We work with the Netherlands, the Ministry of Transportation and Water Management. They are very, very open. We have a discussion at a very high level of detail and expertise. That means that thinking that cities are only, administrations taking papers from
like the boring image.
Yeah, that's not true. And the most important I would like to say is that it's not a trend that I see only, to the huge cities like capital and whatever.
Yeah.
You see it also in smaller city where you see that there is an intrinsic motivation to do something. Our job altogether is to really push public-private partnership, that we accept also that it's only by co-creating that we will reach this transformation. And I think that this is, for me, the most important point.
Yeah. And because you start to talk a little bit about like how Mercedes thinks and about the future, if you can describe the vision, the future of mobility, how do you see it? How do you picture it?
For me, it will be, as said, a context-based mobility. It will be an electric mobility. It will be a mobility where, let's say, software, data, technology will play a big role. And what I hope at the end of the day, it's that it's also a mobility that is completely safe. And I think that this is a very important point for me as a father of two children. I can tell you that the safety is of course a very important point. That's why if I can put my heart and my energy on this in collaborating with people to achieve this, that would be at least I think a small contribution from my side.
Yeah. And how does Mercedes contribute to this vision? What are you doing?
What we are doing is that we are collaborating with cities on different aspects. We are collaborating with real estate. We are not only telling them that we have vehicles and so on, but we have other assets. That means that we reuse assets that we have, if it's expertise, if it's data, for example, and then we work on that. I give you a very simple example. We are working with car data where we can map on if you want the near misses. That means that the events which are a little bit extreme events, and then on this case we can show to the city, look, these are the spots where I would, if I were you, change the infrastructure, put a traffic light, or change the crossroads, or put a new roundabout, whatever, because then it would help to reduce, if you want, these extreme events. And I think that this is something which is very well received. We are working with London, as said, on that. We are working also with the Netherlands. We are also in discussion in the US. That means that you see that there are potential to do very concrete things. In Liechtenstein, for example, we had the chance to make a simulation for on-demand shuttles, electric shuttles, which is, of course, very interesting for all of us, because then you go very precisely on what you need, and that I think that this is a very important point.
And what I wanted to ask you also about, like, the self-driving cars, and because like the picture of many companies and movies, that cars, almost all of them will be self-drive. So what is your reflection about this? Is this something interested?
Absolutely. That means that autonomous driving is coming. Yeah. Don't ask me when and in which sense, because I think that this is a discussion that is quite interesting, but I think that nobody has really the answer on that. I think that autonomous driving will bring also some additional advantage. Personally, and my team, we are pretty much focused on what can we do in the next year. You know, that means that this is much more our field of action. That means that how to make PowerPoint to reality within 1 year. And in this case, autonomous driving is less, if you want, one of our focus topics.
Yeah. And I wanted to link to, you mentioned like you have kids. Because in another podcast we talked about this as well. Now I would love to hear your opinion. Do you see a future where your kids take the car, and the car like a self-driving car, then the car just driving from A to B and that's it? You trust that? You just let your kid to take the car and then?
I think I will trust it, because I trust a lot of things. That means that I give everything a chance. I can imagine that as a family father, maybe I will ask myself some questions, but I'm not somebody who will say, no, it will not happen, or no, I will not trust it, or whatever. I think that a lot will happen in terms of technology, of regulations, and so on. And I think that this is the basis that we are doing now. Yeah.
And now with the climate change and again, the 2030, like sustainability development goals, what are the challenges that Mercedes are facing now?
The challenges are for us very clear. We believe in leading in electric drive, and we believe in leading in car software. That means that, as said, by the end of the decade, we want to be 100% electric, where we can do it, where the market allows it. And this is our strong commitment. That means that now we are working on that, and this is a challenge, but on the other side, also a fantastic opportunity. And that's I think it's a very strong commitment, you know. And I think that this is something where we really put all our efforts on.
Yeah. To urban planners, from your point of view, what should urban planners stop doing when they plan cities?
I don't like to stop people doing something. I think that what I would like is that we are working with urban planners,
of course,
and I can tell you that as soon as we communicate and we discuss on things, on projects, on different aspects, there is always a way if you want to find good examples. I never had the impression that urban planners are against or whatever. I think that there are so many good, let's say, solutions to find together. That's why we are very happy to work with urban planners. We are doing it with also some well-known urban planners and cities. And for us, this is the basis, if you want. That means that we need just to continue to co-create. The rest is philosophy. I think we need to continue to co-create because I think that we want to be part of the solution, and that's a very simple statement.
So what should they stop do or start do?
Start do is continue to call us.
Okay. Are you thinking, like, as a company, to enter this micro-mobility with like electrical bikes and so on? What do you think when you see this in the city?
I think it's part of the reality. Yeah? That means that for us, I think multimodality is there, and micromobility is a very clear reality. And for us, absolutely fine to cooperate, to partner, and to take let's say all modes of transportation, if you want, into account. And this is for me the most important thing to do.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're allowed to create one rule or add one thing to all our cities, what will you add? Like, you can add something physical, or you can create a policy.
That's a very good question. I would dream of a way to explain technology and what is the power of data, for example, for cities, and give them the confidence that you don't need to be a fantastic data analyst, whatever, to understand what you can do with data. And I think that on the day where we understand that there are so many use cases based on sharing data, on analyzing data, on taking the insights out of it, I think that then we would really, if you want, go one step further. Because I believe that at the end of the day, that could be a fantastic way, if you want, to improve the situation and to make, as said, the cities more safe, more sustainable, more efficient, and to ease the access to opportunities.
So more open data?
Open data or whatever data. The most important is just to understand that it's about, let's say, taking care of what are the data that a city has, what are the data that the other players have, and how can you bring all this together to make something great out of it.
Is it easy for you now, because you're closer to that field, that different organizations share their data, or there is a lack of sharing? How do you experience the market?
I think that there are a lot of different patterns. In our situation, we worked, for example, with Transport for London very closely on data sharing and data insights. We have put a dashboard together on road safety. We have accumulated, let's say, other data sources. That means we have integrated them into the model. That means that for us, it's important what we are doing, and we truly believe that data can be a very interesting key lever.
Yeah. And this is the pre-last question. And I think I go back again to the question of future cities and how do you imagine. So if you describe to me how a street or downtown street looks like, will we see cars or no? Paint a picture for us.
I think that we will see cars, we will see vans, we will see bicycles, we will see a completely also new way of doing mobility hubs. Yeah, I think that we will see also hubs which are not only, different verticals put together on a parking garage, but much more, a livable place. I think that mobility in cities will play an even bigger role because mobility is a catalyst for opportunities, and I think that this is something which is which will be the essence, if you want. There is one sentence that I heard a couple of years ago, which was really difficult for me to digest and to understand. Somebody said the best mobility is no mobility at all. I think it's completely wrong. I think that mobility is a catalyst. I think that mobility, after especially what we have seen with the pandemic, is one of the biggest asset that we have. It's freedom, and I think that we need really to embrace mobility and to really like it.
Yeah. So you see the same picture that we see now, that you see cars in the downtown and.
I see cars. Maybe there will be spaces with less cars. Maybe there will be spaces with more cars, which are, I don't know, at the fringe of the city. I think that what is important is at the end of the day that we have an electrical movement, if you want. That means that we have an electrification, that we have, let's say, also an ecosystem that works together. And I think that the most important is that we connect the dots instead of trying to replace some solutions by others. I think at the end of the day, what's important is that we put the customer and the citizen first point. And the second point is that we connect all these solutions together. This is something which will be, in my opinion, a game changer.
What do you mean by like solutions, replaced solution?
I think replacing solutions is that sometimes you have the impression that we should, for example, stop this or do that or whatever. I think that the most important is really to bring things together. You know, it's like, for example, urban logistic. If we believe that all the urban logistic can tomorrow be done without vehicles, it's a little bit, utopia. And I think that it's also something that we need to consider.
Yeah. So I'm happy to talk to you. And the last question is about you giving me and the listeners 3 takeaway messages. What should we think about in order to create future cities?
I think we should think in communities. And if it's okay for you, I would like just to give 3 sectors that I believe should be part of this community. And one sector is the energy sector. One sector is the financing sector. One sector is the mobility sector, if you want. And if you agree, I would take the last statement. I don't believe that it's possible to think mobility without thinking in built environment. Both are to come together. This is one point. And at the end of the day, the one we have to work for is the citizen. And that's, for me, the most important. That means that this community of sectors, if you want, has to really to think in terms of citizen, to be really citizen-centric. And that would be, for me, the message, if I may.
Thank you so much for your time, and hopefully talk to you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. You learned something new and also got inspired by the guest. Don't forget to share the episode on your social media and recommend it to people you think they are really interested in this topic. Thank you so much again for giving your valuable time to Urbanistica podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif. Keep up the good work. Keep loving cities.